Adolescent Week and Child Rights Week organized by IAP Kerala and the Adolescent Health Academy Kerala. So I'm very happy that IAP Kozhikode is hosting this function. And today we have two important faculty to give talks, Ashok Kumar sir and Newton Lewis sir. And I'm not wasting any time for my speech. I would like to invite our state president, Jayaraman sir, to inaugurate Adolescent Week celebration. Jayaraman sir.
Respected President of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Calicut, Dr. Mohandas, Dr. Ashok Kumar, Joint Secretary of I Council Group, Dr. R.N. Srivastava, sir, Dr. Narayanan, President-elect, immediate past President, Dr. Vijay Kumar, President-elect, IAP Kerala, Dr. Johnny Sebastian, Dr. Newton Lewis, Dr. Parvati Madam, and all the other dignitaries on the platform. First of all, I congratulate and I thank IAP Calicut for organizing this wonderful meeting in connection with the inauguration of the two important week celebrations of Indian Academy of Pediatrics Kerala, Adolescent Week and Child Rights Week, at a very short notice. Thank you, Dr. Mohandas and Dr. Ajay and Dr. Ranjit for taking up this huge responsibility and arranging it in a short time. As Dr. Mohandas was telling, this is an important week in the academic calendar of Indian Academy of Pediatrics Kerala, and we are having we are observing two important weeks, that is Adolescent Care and Child Rights Week, and we have arranged various programs as part of this event. And this also marks an important event in the form of a release of a module on life skill education, the sixth on a series of modules released by Adolescent Health Academy and Indian Academy of Pediatrics Kerala during this year, as envisaged initially in the action plan. I congratulate Ranjit and Dr. Shibu and Dr. Deepa for wonderfully completing these 6 modules and releasing them on time on important issues in adolescent practice like media use, substance abuse, suicide prevention, lifestyle diseases, and life skills, and also one unique module on gender equality. And I'm very happy that we could complete this action plan in a wonderful way. And I am not going to take so much time, and I wish the very best for this week's celebrations. And I once again thank all of you and Dr. Ashok Kumar for taking so much pain on arranging the programs for this year on Child Rights Week. Thank you so much. And we are going to the fag end of this year of Indian Academy of Pediatrics. And on my personal behalf, I thank all of you for the cooperation you had rendered during this 1 year of activity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And next, I would like to invite Ashok Kumar, sir, the Joint Secretary of I Council Group, for inaugurating the Child Rights Week.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Respected President IAP Kozhikode, Dr. Mohandas, President Indian Academy of Pediatrics Kerala, Dr. T.P. Jayaraman, and Dr. R.N. Srivastava, sir, Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Vijay Kumar, other senior, Dr. Parvati, my good friend Dr. Newton Lewis, and all other members of my IAP family. I wish you all a very happy Children's Day. I'm extremely happy to join this inaugural function of two important weeks, that is the Child and Adolescent Health Week as well as Child Rights Week. This is being organized by Indian Academy of Pediatrics, I am a Adolescent Academy as well as the Indian Cancer Group. Today I came across a very nice post which I have shared with our members. Children are sensitive and innocent. They are the little angels of God, and the future of mankind depends on them. We always talk about human rights violation, and concerns raised on human rights violation in various fora. But how many people know that children are also having their own rights? Children's rights are violated all over the world, not in any different, not in any single society. All over the world, the rights of the children are being violated. We, the pediatrician, who are always concerned and worried about the welfare and working for the welfare of children, are the right people who should raise our voice for child rights. And it is most appropriate that IAP, as well as IAP in general and IAP in Kerala in particular, is planning to conduct various programs in this connection throughout this week of child rights. Hope you remember that we conducted similar program last year under the leadership of Dr. Narayanan, which was one of the first time program in the history of IAP. Along with that, we were able to release a handbook on child rights. I'm really happy to inform you that with the help of Microlabs, we were able to circulate more than 6,000 copies of that book all over the country, not only in the state, and many adjacent states are also being circulated the copy. And hope all our members in Kerala has received it. If anybody has not received it, just put me your mail ID. I will be sending a soft copy within a couple of days' time. When we talk about the child rights, you cannot forget the name of Jacqueline Jap. I don't know whether the pronunciation is right. She was a social worker in Austria and Hungary. When she was working with the war destitutes of First World War, she recognized the problems of children, and her document on child rights was the first important document for child rights, and which was accepted in the very next year in 1924 by League of Nations as a child rights document. Later in 1949, when UN were formed, they also accepted this as a child rights as an important agenda in the future of the organization. November 20th is considered as an important day for child rights because it is on that day that UN Convention on Child Rights was held and the document of child rights was accepted. And today, more than 200 nations are ratified the child rights CRC, and India has done it in 1992. And being a part of the CRC document, we Indian citizens have the responsibility to look after the rights of the children. Childhood is the golden period of a human being, and the various experience during that period gives a very long-lasting effect on the child. But do all the children get their necessary support and care? So it is the responsibility of the society to invest on the welfare of the children in the long term, so that in long term, so that the interest of the nation is taken care of. The protection of the children and giving a very safe atmosphere is at most important. So as a community, we the pediatricians should be able to protect them against violence, and their rights has to be looked after. That gives the importance of today's program. Going into the details of the child rights, I think it is going to be a very long, I don't want to stand between Newton and you, because Newton has a very important topic to talk. But briefly, when you talk about child rights, essentially the social platform, we have right to survival. Every child who is born in this world has their own right to live an acceptable life, and a right to develop into a normal human being. And they have to be right to be protected from adversaries. And they also have a right to participate in any decisions they made on them, on behalf of them. So that is the motto. We have to talk to the children, involve them in the developmental process, and look after their interest in every field. Right to education and right to health is commonly heard very well, because right to education, you know that Government of India has accepted that up to secondary education, every child has a right to have a free education. And right to health, we all doctors are working in a huge way in the form of for right to health, like immunization programs, nutrition programs, developmental programs, and all. There are two other areas also. Every child has the right to have an identity. That is an important thing. Every child should have a name, should have a nationality. They should be accepted as an individual, a citizen of the country, a citizen of the world. So that is their right. Another thing is that every child has a right to have a family. You all know that the difference between a boy or a child who is reared up in a family and in an orphanage or other situations. And in this context, I must thank Dr. Bennett Salem from Trivandrum to take up the issue of adoption. And in our book also, he has written a chapter on adoption. And I pressurized him to take up the topic, and since then he is working on the theme of adoption. And after, I think on Tuesday, we are going to have another session where Bennett will be talking about adoption in a big way. Thanks, Dr. Bennett. I don't know whether he's hearing me. Then another important major right is the right to have an opinion. As I've said, that right to have participation. We should be listening to their opinion when we are taking the decision on behalf of the children. And moreover, protection against exploitation is another right also. A child should be protected from exploiting. Not only we talk about sexual exploitation, just not only sexual exploitation, so many other economic exploitation, physical exploitation. All these things has to be considered when we talk about child rights in a bigger platform. So protecting the rights of the children goes a long way in protecting them from various maltreatment and give them a very safe atmosphere, safe environment, so that they blossom into a very good adult human being, and who's going to be a wealth for the nation. This year, the theme of child safety and child rights is now is the time. Yes, this is the time. I think we have to start now so that our children get a very safe and protected atmosphere for the future. And in this context, I have also requested IAP President 2022, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, to take up the issue of child safety and protection as project for President's Action Plan for next year, which he has accepted. I think we will be able to work on that. I request the help of my colleagues in IAP Kerala to work for that also, if that comes through. I don't want to take a long time on that. Before I conclude, I place on record my sincere gratitude to IAP Kozhikode, IAP Kerala for giving me the opportunity to address you. I sincerely thank Dr. Srivastava sir for joining, and he used to attend most of the program when we conduct on child rights. Thank you, Srivastava sir, especially for attending this program. With this words, I formally inaugurate the Child Rights Week 2021 of IAP Kerala. Thank you. Thank you all. Jai Hind, Jai IAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok Kumar sir, for the wonderful message and inaugurating the Child Rights Week. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Vijay Kumar M, the President-elect IAP Kerala, for the felicitation.
Respected State President, Dr. T.P. Jayaraman sir, State Secretary, Dr. Johnny Sebastian, Dr. Ashok Kumar, Joint Secretary of iCancel Group, and Dr. Narayanan, past President of IAP Kerala, Dr. Mohan Das, President IAP Calicut, and Dr. Ajay, Secretary IAP Calicut, and all the senior faculty members and my friends. Today, I am extremely happy to be here to felicitate the state level inauguration of two major important presidential action plan of IAP Kerala. One is the Adolescent Week, and next is the Child Rights Week. Then, incidentally, today is World Diabetes Day also. And in this juncture, we are also releasing the module on life skills for adolescents. And adolescents are a group of children who need special care, but require independence also. And as far as the child rights, Dr. Ashok Kumar sir has described in detail about the programs. And I wish both the program all success. Jai Hind, Jai IAP.
Thank you, sir. And next, I would like to invite Dr. M. Narayanan sir, the President IAP Kerala 2020. In his tenure, we had started observing the Child Rights Week, and over to you, sir.
Good morning to you all. Respected President Dr. T.P. Jayaraman, Dr. M. Vijay Kumar, Dr. Mohan Das, Dr. Ashok Kumar, other dignitaries in the Zoom platform. First of all, congratulations and thanks to IAP Kerala and IAP Kozhikode for organizing this program, inaugural session on Child Rights and Adolescent Week celebrations. Actually, the rights for all. Now, what people do, either they get through either trade unions or through social media. Children are not having any of this. And the campaign or crusade for child rights by IAP is in its infancy. It's the second consecutive year that we are celebrating Child Rights Week. And I should thank Dr. Ashok Kumar for taking the lead, both at the state as well as at the national level, under the banner of IAP or iCancel, for bringing up this idea of child rights and organizing various programs for it. And another important aspect of today's inauguration is the Adolescent Health Week, for which we already have a well-established organizational setup. In the coming years, when alcoholism, domestic violence, divorces, adoptions, all these issues are going to be on the rise. The significance and importance of IAP's campaign for both child rights and adolescent health will be of great help to the population of children of Kerala as well as in India. I wish this program all success and wish you all happy learning from Dr. Newton Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan sir. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Johnny Sebastian sir, the State Secretary of IAP Kerala, for the felicitation.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjit. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good morning, all. Respected Chair Mohandas sir, IAP State President and my leader Jayaraman sir, Vijay Kumar sir, with President-elect, Narayanan sir, IPP, past President of IAP Kerala, Parvati Madam, Dr. R.N. Srivastava sir, Ashok Kumar sir, Joint Secretary, ICANCEL Group, esteemed Speaker of the Day, Newton sir, Dr. Ranjit, my friend and the vibrant Secretary of AHA, seniors and dear colleagues. At the outset, let me congratulate IAP Kozhikode and AHA Kerala for hosting this Adolescent Week and Child Rights Week inauguration ceremony at such a short notice. As we all know, we are all eagerly waiting for an excellent talk by none other than Newton Lewis sir, who is an expert in the field of adolescent medicine. Today, we also have a release of module on life skills for adolescents. And I congratulate AHA, especially Dr. Shibu, Dr. Ranjit, Dr. Deepa, and Dr. Sajna for the efforts they have put to make this happen. I wish this webinar today all the very best and all the participants today a great learning experience. Thank you, Jai Hind, JIA.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before going to the scientific session, I would like to invite R.N. Srivastava sir for a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashok Kumar has Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Dr. Ashok Kumar has mentioned about the child rights and the proper context. Actually, the problems are that the child rights and problems of children are different in different countries. In our own countries, talking South Asia, is the poverty and the exploitation, abuse, child labor. These are important issues. Obviously, the health and education are the crucial issues, and somehow we have to ensure that the right to education, the law of the land, but somehow the primary education is not up to the mark. It's not quality education. There's a lot of dropout. Healthcare is something which we have to fight for. We must fight that at least the 14 years, they get totally here. And they should be sort of, at the Anganwadi level, they should be encouraged to seek these facilities. Even these are provided, somehow the families do not seem to go to these centers. These are important issues. In the context of poverty, the exploitation of children, street children, child beggars, especially in the metro cities, Delhi, Bombay is a very common problem. These have to be addressed somehow by the government and by the civil society. These are important issues. Kerala has taken a lead in these matters, and Kerala is much above the rest of the country. But
Sir, you happen to be muted, sir. Sir, please unmute.
Srivastava sir, you are muted, sir.
Ranjit, can you unmute?
Sir, Srivastava sir, please unmute, sir.
Were you able to hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. In between, you happen to be muted. Okay, continue, sir. Continue.
Thank you, Srivastava sir, for the important message. And next, we are going to the scientific session. And I would like to invite our vibrant speaker and our always, it was very happy to hear Newton sir's session. In such a short notice, sir has accepted our invitation, and sir was presenting the life skills for adolescents. And we will be releasing the module on life skills for adolescents by our own respected Newton sir. Over to you, sir, for the scientific session and release of the module.
Thank you. Let me first share my screen. Yes, my screen is now clear. 1 second. Yes, okay. 1 sec. Right. Yeah, okay, right. So today's topic is about
എനിക്ക് ഇത്രയും മനസ്സിലായി നമ്മുടെ ഫാമിലിനെ കോൺസെൻട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ജീവിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ
okay, today's topic is about life skill development.
തലയിലോട്ട് വരും.
Yeah. Today's topic is life skills development. So what are life skills? Life skills are the tools that a person needs to face his life boldly, happily, and successfully. There are various types of life skills: thinking skills, social skills, and emotional skills. These are important to help us attain our true potential, because it has been estimated by William James, the great psychologist, that the average human being only uses 10% of his potential. This is the WHO list of the 10 life skills. So let's take them up one by one. Now, life skills training is something that adolescents actually enjoy, because it is an interactive situation where real life examples are used. They are made to do skits. We discuss, we take up a common story from a mythical story and then discuss it. We have question answer sessions. We have a question box. This makes life skills training very interesting. But when life skills is taken the way it is being going to be done to some extent today, that is in the form of a class or a lecture, it's not that interesting. 10 life skills is a lot. Ideally, we should be having one life in schools, one life school session every 2 weeks, one period every 2 weeks, so that over a period of 1 year, they get to have enough time for life skills. In one period, we should be teaching just one life skill in some amount of detail. Generally, we won't get that much of time, so we might have to teach 3 or 4 select and teach 3 or 4 life skills in one session. But to try to teach too many of them, they won't get any useful messages. I am just going to give 1 or 2 examples of what we can say for each life skill. But of course, with each life skill, we can come out with the skits and questions and real life examples and stories, and we can make one life skill itself can be discussed in great detail. I'm just going to give a few examples. First and foremost is self-awareness. This is the ability to understand ourselves. It is the foundation of life skills. We must understand ourselves, only then we can change. We must know, we must have a clear awareness of our own character, our good and bad aspects. For example, if not uncommonly we get angry easily, this will spoil our relationships with our family, with our friends, with our colleagues, wherever we work. So this is a negative aspect which we have to correct. So we need to know what are good and bad aspects of our character. What are our likes and dislikes? For example, if I like if an adolescent likes to handle mechanical gadgets at a very young age, he might be very appropriate to go in for engineering. Depends on his taste. What are our strengths and weaknesses? If you are particularly good in maths, or maths. It might help you if you take up engineering. If you are unusually weak in maths, it might be a disadvantage if you take going for engineering. If you are weak in languages, in English, you might want to be a teacher, but that is going to be difficult. So we need to know our character, our likes and abilities, our strengths and weaknesses. Unless we understand ourselves thoroughly, we cannot develop our other potentials. Self-esteem is when we respect ourselves because each one of us is unique. I have my own unique importance in this family, in this world. Self-esteem is not a separate life skill. Once I am aware of myself, I know that I have certain weaknesses. But in spite of that, I also know that I have a lot of virtues, good qualities, and because of that, I still respect myself. Self-awareness naturally follows from the self-respect that comes from knowing our good point. Here is a simple test that we can do for adolescents. Just give them about 2 minutes and say, okay, now each of you take a piece of paper and write down what are your, forget the negative qualities, what are your good qualities, what are your unusual abilities, what are your strengths. Write them down. This is a secret. Don't show it to anybody else. Write for yourself only. Give them 2 or 3 minutes to do this. Then show them this list and say, go through this list and see whether you have missed out some important quality or advantage or strength that you had should have mentioned. Add the extra characteristics to that list, the further good qualities that you had missed. Surely most of them will go through this list and add some more strong points. Then the next step is to tell them, keep this list to yourself, but when you go home, show it to your mother or father and tell them what it is supposed to be, a list of your estimate of a list of your abilities. Ask them to go through it, and most sure probably they will add some more to the list. Finally, show it again to someone who is very close to you, your brother, your sister, or a close friend. And I'm sure again, there will be additions. Once you have a final list, go through it carefully and ask yourself, how good is this list? Is there still further virtues that you can add to yourself? And then respect yourself. Esteeming yourself, respecting yourself is important. Once we are aware of ourselves, of our strengths, once we esteem ourselves, we have the confidence to better ourselves and to strengthen our abilities. We have the courage to correct our weaknesses. And once we understand ourselves, once we are aware of ourselves, then we see defects in our friends, we see weakness in our friends, we are willing to accept them with their defects, to appreciate them better, because we have limitations, therefore everyone will have limitations. Right. Now, empathy. Empathy is the ability to imagine what life is like for another person. If self-awareness was about being aware of my own persona, my own personality, then empathy is the ability to be aware of another person's personality. Empathy is not just sympathy, sahadabam. That is much more than that. It is the ability to put yourself into the other shoes, to understand his way of thinking and living. We need empathy to understand others, to appreciate them, to have sympathy for if they have some problem, to develop a helping attitude if they have need. And by empathy, we mean, for example, can we understand what life is like for someone who is 10 or 20 years older than us? For someone who is financially from a weaker area? For someone who lives, say, in Uttar Pradesh, where the culture is quite different from here? For someone who is of the other sex? There are so many differences. Someone who has a physical disability. It is not that easy. But we must give ourselves an opportunity to feel, to understand them, to try to understand them. Only if we appreciate them, will they be able to grow. Can you imagine what life is like for this child who is visually disabled? If he wants to read, he has to touch that braille paper in order to read. Imagine if for one day you have to close your eyes or blindfold yourself and walk from your home to your school. Or if that's too much, to close your eyes and walk from your bedroom to the dining table. to sit there and serve yourself with your eyes closed. To eat a meal, you can taste it, you can feel it, you can enjoy the taste, but you cannot see what you are eating. Can you imagine what life would be like if you have never seen your parents' face? You have never been able to appreciate the beauty of a flower. You have to, even to read, you have to touch. You can't watch a movie, you can only listen to the movie. Life is quite different for many people. We are now going to discuss certain important thinking abilities. Creative thinking. Creative thinking is the ability to think logically, scientifically, rather than emotionally. It is very important. We are faced with a lot of emotional reactions on WhatsApp all the time. Lots of emotional messages on WhatsApp which have no logic behind them. Advertisements and the media give us a lot of wrong messages. We face a lot of peer pressure, and our friends, teachers try to pressurize us into doing things which may not be the right thing. We should have the ability to think logically and decide what is right and what is best. For example, our friends might tell us that smoking and drinking alcohol are a sign of independence. Is it? Look at an adult, a chronic smoker. He has a very bad cough. He's smoking all the time. He's coughing all the time. He has decreased lung capacity. He gets tired when he walks a short distance. He's not enjoying himself. He smokes because he's an addict. He cannot stop. What kind of independence is it? He's lost his independence to a cigarette, to tobacco. Drinking alcohol, the chronic alcoholic is obviously not independent at all. He is a victim of his alcohol. So smoking and drinking might look great when you are an adolescent because it's an adult behavior. So basically, these are signs when they become chronic of losing one's independence. Then the media tells us, and the advertisements tells us that face creams will make you look fair and lovely. If it was that easy, then all rich people in India would be white in color. Okay, and then you use these special hair oils and you will have luxurious hair. If it was that easy, then all doctors would have luxurious hair. You wouldn't find bald doctors in there. And then they tell us all these advertisements that you have these ancient Ayurvedic textbooks. Ancient textbooks give you a lot of oils and magical medicines which will make you fair and lovely and give you luxurious hair. But you look at Ayurvedic doctors, just like the allopathic doctors, there are many of them who are dark, many of them who are bald. So probably these ads, these movies are not telling us the truth. We need to judge them rather than responding emotionally. Okay, I am slightly, have a little less hair on my face. Let me try it. Tradition is good, but tradition has its limits. There are lots of the situations change. This tradition can get stuck in the past, and we have to have the courage to think about tradition and decide whether they are right or not. In the past, we were told that only men can drive cars. Women are not competent to do so. This was 30 years ago. Today, women are flying planes all over the place. There are airline pilots who are women in every important airline. So if they can fly from planes, why can't they drive cars? Today, what we see is that unlike 30 years ago, lots of girls have bikes, lots of women drive cars. So tradition is not always correct. And look at this advertisement. Here you see a famous man, Barack Obama, former president of the United States. And what color is he? He's dark. And then he uses fair and lovely. And see what the advertisement shows you. He becomes fair, he becomes lovely. Is this an advertising trick? Okay, so this is how the ads fool us. We should learn to use critical thinking. Right. Then comes creative thinking. Creative thinking means coming up with new ideas and planning and implementing us. We all know the story of this thirsty crow who found a jug of water, but not enough. He couldn't drink from it. So he puts stones into the water level comes up, and he drinks from it. Okay, this is creative thinking at its best. Now, we think that creative thinking is about intelligence. Yes, it is. But there's much more to it than intelligence. It requires study, planning. Okay, Thomas Alva Edison came up with this brilliant idea of how to make a bulb. The idea, the concept behind it, the visualization was great. But then he had to study materials, the chemical and physical properties of various elements before he could decide which of the two to combine. And then once he had got the theory behind him, he had to do it again and again, thousands of experiments with the various chemicals and elements until he finally succeeded after 10 years of hard work. Okay, so it requires creative thinking is not just intelligence. It also implies studying all the knowledge behind one's idea and then following it up with plenty of hard work. Decision-making skill. It is important skill. It is an important skill which helps us to make the right decisions in the future. For example, to plan our studies. After high school, what am I going to do for +2? That's important because that will to some extent decide what kind of job I will be doing in the future. We are planning for the long term to prevent problems in the long term. What type of friends do I want to have? Okay, there are many planned decisions that we have to make. Decision-making skill implies that we should ask ourselves, what is the issue? Why is it so important? What are the long-term consequences? What are our preferences and our family preferences? And then based on all this together and our values and our moral judgment, we have to make a final decision. For example, this is something we can ask the students to do. Ideally, we should ask the school teacher before the class, choose 2 good students, and we should tell them beforehand what they are going to be asked so that they can prepare. Okay. Now, a brilliant student whose parents want him to become a doctor, he plans to do BCom and then start a business. The father and son are going to discuss both options in a friendly manner. So you've chosen these 2 students, and one student is going to speak in favor of BCom, and another speaks in favor of MBBS. And after they have, there's been a little bit of a give and take on both sides, then the speaker comes up with a conclusion and discusses the pros and cons. Okay, what are the pros and cons? Why is the student in favor of BCom? Maybe he actually loves the subject and he's good in it and he has clear-cut plans. Maybe he wants to start a business and he has an idea about what he wants to start. And he's gone and done a little research into it. He knows what he wants. He's discussing based on he's discussed with some other people. He has an idea what he wants to do, in which case it might be a very good idea. If so, that's good. Or could it be that he wants BCom because most of his friends are going to BCom? So, okay, he also wants to have company with them for another 3 years. Could it be that he wants BCom because BCom is so easy to study? 3 years I can sit and enjoy. If I do MBBS like my father says, another 5 years of slogging, I want to escape from that. Those are also possibilities. What is the real reason? Could it be that he's tempted by his uncle? His uncle is a big businessman, rich man, much richer than his father. And he also just has a BCom degree. He doesn't have a big MBBS degree. Could it be that he looked at his uncle and thought it's a brilliant idea? Yeah, so maybe he has actually discussed with his uncle. Maybe it's a wise decision, but we have to find out whether it is why he wants it. Has he considered the fact that his uncle is a rich businessman? Yes, but his uncle slogs through the day, even today, to make a lot of money. It's not just about having a business. You have to maintain that business. Does he know how much of stress and struggle his uncle went through to start that business? Does he realize that starting a business frequently requires a lot of capital? Has he thought of all these things? Has he discussed them with his uncle? And has he then come to a plan? That makes a difference. So we have to discuss all aspects of the case before a final decision is made. And problem solving. As decision making was about planning for the future to prevent future complications, problem solving is about solving the problems that we face all the time. Every one of us has problems now and then. And what do we do when we face a problem? Like, for example, in our studies, we have to identify the problem, define it very clearly. Think of the possible solutions. Here's a problem. When he has neglected his studies, the exams are next month. He now feels that he cannot finish his portions. What should he do? Identify the problem. He has exams and not enough time to stand. He sees that he is not enough time. There are 5 exams in 1 month's time. I cannot study for all 5 of them. That's his problem. That's what he's worried about. What are the possible solutions? Ask the students what are the solutions and let them come out and tell them that any solution is welcome. They can be free to say whatever they think. then discuss, decide on the best solution, implement the solution, and finally check to see whether the solution is actually working or whether you need to find a new solution. Okay. Here are some of the solutions. What can Benny do? One, he can bunk the exams. That doesn't solve any problems. He'll have to write the same exams much later. He is going to suffer. Or he can copy from someone in the exam hall. He can take a textbook to the exam hall. He can pay someone else to write the exams for him. He can ask his father to bribe or to threaten the examiner. Or maybe he can study with what little time is left, which I think you will agree is the only practical solution. But what does this practical solution imply? It implies, first of all, that he has to study, focus for the next 1 month on only studying as much as possible. He has to forget his friends, forget TV, forget games. There's nothing in front of him for the next 1 month until his exams are over. He should start by focusing on the subjects that are especially important for the exams. And some subjects may be easier to study. He should study hard in the day, but don't forget to sleep for 9 hours every night, because if you sleep badly, the next day is going to be unproductive. Possibly he might need some emergency 1:1 tuition with one teacher on 1 or 2 difficult portions. And finally, if after 1 week, when he reassesses and sees how much progress he has made, if the progress has been too slow and he decides after 1 week, after 2 weeks, that he just cannot manage to pass those 5 exams, he can rethink, like, at least, if not 5, can I at least pass 3 or 4 exams? Can I drop out the tougher subject and do the rest of it? So these are all solutions or partial solutions. And now we come to certain emotional aspects. Effective communication. Effective communication is very important. It is a capacity to express our thoughts and our ideas and our opinions to others. We should also have the ability to express our feelings, our desires, our dreams to others. If we cannot express ourselves clearly, if we cannot make ourselves understood, our needs understood, then we are definitely at a gross disadvantage. Paradoxically, most important aspect of effective communication is not about how you talk, but about how you listen. It's more about listening than talking. Supposing you disagree with your father on some important matter, how are you going to effectively communicate with him? First of all, you've expressed a different opinion and your father is speaking to you about it. Listen carefully, without interrupting. Listen with close attention, lean forward, show that you are interested in what he's saying. When he finishes, don't jump to an answer, think for a moment, decide what you have to say, and then express your own opinion clearly but politely. Do not lose your temper or raise your voice. The moment you do that, your father will stop, is not interested. Do not lose your temper. Do not criticize your father. You are old-fashioned. You are prejudiced. Criticize his opinion. Disagree with his opinion, but you have no right to criticize him. And when you finish saying what you have said, wait. He will speak. Let him speak. Listen completely to whatever he has to say. Let him reply fully without interruption. Once again, think about what he has said. Maybe there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. Maybe you still don't agree and you again reply. Effective communication is primarily about listening, and secondly about speaking your opinion in a diplomatic manner. It's about a discussion. It's not about winning an argument. I want to prove that I am right. It's about a discussion in which either you or your father will change your opinion totally or at least partially. It's not only what you say, it's how you say it. For example, once the same sentence, I have been called to the principal's office. You can say this proudly, I have been called to the principal's office. And that means that, I've done something great and the principal is going to give me some reward. Or I've been called to the principal's office. You're so anxious about it. You've done something wrong and the principal is going to punish you. Or I've been called to the principal's office. The teacher is unnecessarily, I've not done anything wrong. The teacher has unnecessarily given me a wrong complaint about it. So the same sentence, I have been called to the principal's office, depending on your body language, depending on the tone of your voice, depending on your actions, the meaning totally changes. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it that matters a lot. For example, here again, if you are upset by something that your mother tells you, how you reply. If you get angry and start yelling and screaming, the response will be dramatically different. If you softly, gently speak to your mother, the response will be different. So it's not only what you say, it's how you say it also is very important. Interpersonal relationships, they are very important for us to have friends, be treated with respect by our parents, to have good relations with members of the other sex, and even to end a friendship without hurting the other person. Unhappy relationships are a major cause of adolescence, suicide, and depression. The golden rule, if you're like, for example, with friends, good interpersonal relationships with friends, the golden rule, treat your friends as you would like them to treat you. Pay your friend a compliment whenever possible. You gave a good talk yesterday. Or you're looking at that shirt you're wearing is very nice. It should be a genuine compliment, but pay him a compliment whenever you get a chance. Make positive comments whenever you think of, whenever something positive comes to your mind, make a positive comment about him to others also. Do not insult or hurt him unnecessarily. Do not make negative comments or gossip about him in front of other people. And friendships are, in all good friends will occasionally disagree with each other, argue with each other, quarrel with each other, and they'll forget about it the next day. Now, next month when you quarrel with your friend, don't say, last month this happened, the last year that happened, forget about what happened in the past. You have a quarrel with your friend, quarrel about that issue alone, and don't bring back the past. The past is gone. Okay, this is the golden rule on how to treat your friends. And for married people, this is the golden rule on how to behave with your spouses. Yeah. Now, good relationships with your parents. The major cause of stress and strife between adolescents and parents is rebellion. The adolescent says, you're always restricting me, you're not giving me freedom. I want to be free. I'm taller than you, and you're coming and giving me lectures. You're telling me what to do. I am independent. So the adolescent fights with his parents. And what you have to understand is that a child has no independence. A 5-year-old child, she has to do whatever her parents tell her. But she has no responsibility either. Whatever she needs, her parents have to give to her. An adolescent has, an adult on the other hand, has full freedom. He can do whatever he wants to. But he also has full responsibility, not only for his own needs, but also he has to satisfy the needs of his children. Okay, so be clear about this. Independence and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. Always they are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. You want independence as an adolescent, you want independence, okay, then accept responsibility. If your mother wakes you up in the morning, it's time to go to school. If your mother has to pull you out of the TV, come on, it's time to do your homework. If your mother has to take the mobile away from you, go to bed, it's 10 o'clock. If at every step of the way, your mother has to look to what you're doing and guide you, do this, do that, like she's doing it with small 5-year-old children, then whatever age you are, whether you are 15 or 20, in her mind, you are a small child. You want independence, then start accepting responsibility for your own life. Decide your great responsibility at this age is to study. You have to sleep 9 hours. Okay, what time will I go to bed and get up? You have to study or do 3 hours of homework. What time will I do my homework? Discuss this timetable of yours with your parents, because it has to match with their timetable of, dinner time and prayer time and all that. So you have to make a timetable which suits you and suits the rest of your family. And having made that timetable, take charge of your life. At 6 o'clock, you've decided. So at 6 o'clock, sit there with your books before your mother can remind you. At 10 o'clock, go to bed, remove your mobile and go to bed before somebody comes to remind you to go to bed. Wake up in the morning spontaneously, keep your room clean and tidy, Do take care of your responsibilities. Keep your room clean. Keep your table clean. Go do your studies. Do your sleep correctly. Take care or control of your own life. And your mother, your parents will be relieved. They don't have to run behind you. They don't have to check whether you're studying. They don't have to check whether you're sleeping. You are being responsible. You are taking charge of your own life. They will be tremendously relieved. Their greatest responsibility is to look after you, and now that great responsibility is taken away from them. You have taken responsibility for your own life. You are showing maturity. They will happily give you full independence. You want responsibility? You want independence? Accept responsibility. Yes. Now, okay. Now coming to coping with stress. Now stress is part of life. The biggest stress for an adolescent is study and exams. Okay, stress is there. Stress is part of life. A little stress is a good thing. Remember that. If there was no stress in life, life would be very, very boring. We need a little stress. That is why we play competitive games. That is why we are games, sports, everywhere. We like to compete with each other. We want a little stress. Bland life is a boring life. Okay, stress is there, but too much of stress can affect us badly. We must understand how it affects us. Some of us become sad when we are stressed out. Some of us become very angry when we are stressed out. Some of us become very anxious. We stop studying. Some go for alcohol. Some go for drugs. All these are wrong ways of responding. What can we do? How do we cope with stress? Like I mentioned earlier, we should decide, well, if our big stress is studies and exams, then the solution is regular studies, adequate sleep, a regular home timetable. And in between, we need to relax also, because life is not all about work. We need to relax in between games, sports, extracurricular activities, hobbies, yoga. Lots of choices are there depending on our life. One example of coping with stress: here a girl is asked to speak in the class tomorrow and she comes unprepared. Okay, so what can she do? She doesn't attend the class. That does not solve the problem, because the teacher just then when she comes to the class, few days later she comes to the class, and the teacher immediately asks her to speak up in class. Oh, she says, I have a headache. I had a headache yesterday. I couldn't study. It's not an excuse. You were given the topic 1 week ago. Why did you postpone your preparation till yesterday? I feel giddy today, teacher. Okay, you feel giddy today, the next day the teacher will make a present. Or she can present the topic without preparation. It's no solution, because she's going to do very badly in her internals. And finally, she can prepare as much as possible and come and speak. Maybe she's not very good at speaking, but she can do the best that she can. That's all. She cannot expect always to be the best in the class. She must prepare as much as possible. And when you think of stress, and when you're stressed out, remember the rubber ball. The harder you throw it to the ground, the higher it bounces up. When you are faced with stress, remember to bounce back like the rubber ball. And coping with emotions. Adolescents have, children, when something they are upset about something, they start crying. So you give them a toy, a doll, or a chocolate, and they immediately start smiling. They cry very easily. They laugh very easily. But their laughter and their cries are all shallow. They change very easily. So children have rapidly changing emotions, but very shallow. Adults are much less likely to cry. But when they do, their sorrow can be very deep. So adults have deep emotions, which they can generally control. Adults have shallow emotions, which change very easily. Now, adolescents are in between. They have emotions which are as deep as that of adults, because their emotional development is ready by 16 or 18 years. So their emotions are as strong as that of adults. But their intellect is less developed than that of adults. So they don't change. So they change as rapidly as children do. Their ideas from sorrow to happiness, or from happiness to sorrow, can change very easily. The child comes back from home. Her uncle gives her. Her emotions can change very dramatically. Okay, so the adolescents have very deep emotions, but at the same time, these emotions are very shallow. And because of this, for the most trivial reasons, I failed in an exam, or my boyfriend is not talking to me, that can be enough of an excuse for them to commit suicide. So recognize your emotions, only then you will learn to control them. Your emotions, what happens when you feel, when you are in stress? Do you get depressed or anxious or angry? How do you react to this? By showing anger, or by using alcohol or drugs, or by, even inappropriate sexual behavior. Until you learn what your emotions are, you will have difficulty learning to control them. One common problem that adolescents ask about is, how do I manage my anger? I just get angry very easily. Now, here is an example. Your mother walks in when you are watching the last over of an important India versus Pakistan cricket match, and she switches it off and tells you, go and study. What do? So you get terribly upset. You throw down the remote and damage it, and your mother gets upset, and she says, no more TV for 1 week. So the situation has now become very bad. One, you have lost your TV for 1 week. Secondly, you are so angry now that you cannot study at all, even though you're sitting in front of your books. Thirdly, even though you won't admit it, you know that you are the culprit. You should have been studying at that time. And now you have upset your mother and she's very angry with you, and you want to go say sorry, but you don't have the guts to do so. So the situation has become very, very bad. What could you have done? You could have just said, okay, if you speak gently, softly, if you make a gentle request, you might have succeeded. Okay, you were actually supposed to have been studying at that time, but this is a very important match. Now, so Amma, it's the last minutes of a match. Like, give me just 10 more minutes in front of the TV, and then I'll go to my books. Most of them are likely she would have agreed. 1 second. Right. We should ask, when we want to cope with our anger, we should ask ourselves, to analyze our anger, to understand our anger, we should ask ourselves these questions. When did I get angry? Why? With whom? How did I manifest my anger? And did my anger actually solve the problem, or did it make it worse? Did my anger spoil the relationship? If we think of these questions with regard to a specific situation, like the last time I got angry with someone, it will help us to analyze our anger and find a solution to it. Now, basic principles of anger management. First and simply the most important is, do not get angry about minor problems. Now, most of the time, we all get very angry at times, all of us. We sometimes lose our temper. And when we get angry, we think it's a terrible issue and we make a big fuss about it. The next day when we think about it, actually, most of the time when we got angry, it was on a very trivial issue. 90 to 95% of the times that we get angry, the issues are minor. There are 5 to 10% of the time when it is serious, but most of the time it is minor. So what should we do? If we can take a decision that I will not get angry about minor problems, even if though I am angry, I will not express anger about minor problems. I will treat it with the contempt that it deserves. If we do this, what happens? It takes time, but over a period of time, we will get, we are not expressing our anger. This habit of expressing anger at the slightest excuse comes down dramatically, and 90% of our anger disappears. Once that happens, there are the remaining 5 to 10%, the serious problems. We find that even there we can manage better because we have got the confidence. We have earlier we were always getting angry. We are now losing control over ourselves. When the occasions for really getting angry come down dramatically, we find that we now have more stamina to control ourselves so that we don't get into big trouble. And some of the techniques that can be used, counting backwards from 100. So that is an intellectual activity, and it forces you to, to count intellectually in your mind backwards from 100 to 90. By the time itself, you're thinking logically, your emotions are cut off for 10 seconds, and that itself reduces your anger. Speak softly and carefully. Don't raise your voice. The moment you raise your voice, the other person gets angry. So speak softly and carefully. State clearly. And if you feel hurt, just say it. Say it. Don't say, you are making me angry. You are like this. Say, I am upset because you are speaking like this. I am upset because you're speaking, saying what you're saying is not correct. So make an I statement. Say it calmly. Do not show a sign of anger on your face. You keep a calm face. These simple techniques will prevent the other person from becoming more angry. It takes two persons for an anger to really flare up. If you keep calm, the other person also gets a chance to cool down, and then both of you can think over it and decide who is right and who is wrong. Now, if you feel uncontrollable anger, you feel that you cannot manage, you're about to erupt in such situations, the best thing to do is to leave the place. The problem can be solved later rather than explode now and then you're totally permanently damage a relationship. So thank you. Lots of 10 topics, and we cannot handle 10 topics in one essay, but I have just very briefly mentioned 1 or 2 examples for each one of the life skills. We can actually, if you think about it, find 10, 20 examples for each life skill, and we can take and go slow. I had to go fast naturally because we are talking to adults, but with the adolescents, we have to go slow, give them time to think, give them time to react, make it an interactive session. Life skills can be a very interesting session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's an interesting session. You had prepared the module with all the common life scenarios, and it made very simple for talking to the adolescents and convey the important message of life skill. And now the topic is open for discussion. Any comments, any doubts? Parvati ma'am.
Newton, congratulations. It's not only good for adolescents, but also applicable to even adults and even elderly people like me. Good.
Thank you, Madam. Also very much for me also, personally.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. And I can see Ravi sir, President NNF Kerala, sir.
ശരിക്കും ഞാൻ ന്യൂട്ടന്റെ പരിപാടി ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് മാത്രമാണ് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ ഇരുന്നത്. കാരണം വേറൊരു I had a serious prior commitment, but I thought I will listen to Newton before I go, and I don't repent that decision.
Thank you.
It's simply great, and I always enjoy listening to Newton, who has practical solution to every problem concerning children, adolescents, and as Parvati Madam said, it's applicable to us also. Thanks a lot. Great going, Newton.
Thank you, sir. And you can see Balendra sir, the former State Secretary.
Thank you, Ranjit. That was an excellent talk by Newton, sir. Always he talks like that. I will send a personal comment to him. Actually, I don't know whether sir has seen that. One suggestion is that in his slide, he has given 3 hours study and 9 hours sleep. I don't think it will be possible for our adolescents nowadays to compete in exams and all. And 9 hours sleep means they have, before the exams, they have to be very regular and hardworking. Then only they can sleep 9 hours before the exams. And another comment is that for studious children nowadays, competitive exams are the stress. And for others, I think abuse is the most important stress. These 2 factors we have to solve, actually. Thank you, sir, for the excellent talk. It was practically very useful.
Now this, this thing about abuse and all that, if I talk about such things, and I thought it would go too far, so I didn't. Actually, they're both are very valuable points. Now about this 9 hours and 3 hours is something which is highly controversial, because I have seen when my daughter was in the 10th standard, she was a good student. So all the good students were called for a meeting by PC Thomas, and he told them, you must not study too much. It's bad for your health if you study too much. You must study only 12 hours a day. And my daughter comes back and says, Daddy, can a human being study 12 hours a day? Okay, she's a top ranker right through. And I told her, study the way you are studying today. Now, all of us have studied very hard to reach here. Did any of us study 12 hours a day? Even in a MBBS and a MD, forget about school. In a MBBS and a MD, how many of us could study more than 3 hours a day routinely on a daily basis for 3 years? I can't imagine studying more than 3 or maximum 4 hours a day. It is not possible. Whatever the instigation there is, obviously, if you are doing an MD, study 10 hours a day is much better than study 4 hours a day in theory. In practice, nothing will go into your brain. We have only human brains. My understanding, based on my personal experience, and even today I study every day. Even today, I study every day, and I'm still not satisfied because you cannot finish studying pediatrics. But my experience is that during my MD, I thought I studied very hard, but I don't think I was capable of studying more than 3 or 4 hours a day continuously, maybe for a month. Okay, that's different. I've done that. For 1 month, I studied 10 hours a day. For 1 month, that's a record. Other than that, on long-term basis, regular basis, more than 3 or 4 hours a day. What I say, I don't know where I got this information from, but I thought it was very relevant. LP school, 1 hour of homework. Secondary school, 2 hours. High school, 3 hours. And degree, they say 4 hours. And even that I have difficulty accepting. 3 hours I can accept. 4 hours, I don't know whether it's theoretically possible. You can sit in front of books. Lots of children nowadays are sitting in front of their books, but they're not increasing their marks. The textbook says that the average ideal sleep requirement of an adolescent is 9.25 hours. Nelson textbook of pediatrics. Of course, there's a variation. So is it possible, if you don't sleep today, tonight your long-term memory will suffer, which means that you are not going to benefit. If you didn't sleep last night, today you will sit in front of your books, you study 6 hours, but you're daydreaming 3 hours. So that is the thing, we have to balance between sleep and study. Both are equally important. And you can cut down on internet time now. These two things, my understanding is that if you don't have these two, it's difficult to get to peak performance, your maximum. Now, this is controversial. I always talk about sleep and everybody disagrees with me and they tell me that from their children, it's not possible. For me, this is the maximum I have ever been able to achieve. I cannot sacrifice either sleep or study. And for my children also, I took this attitude and I'm very happy with the results. Now, I am putting this forth to you. We are all pediatricians. We must learn. The theory we can easily find out from Nelson, and the practice we have to think, because it applies not just to adolescents, but to our own children. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Indira ma'am, Indiravasi ma'am.
Hello, Ranjit, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
That was a wonderful session. I'm so glad I put it on. Congratulations, Newton. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I can see the Vice President of IAP, Kodiko Sindhu ma'am.
Hello, Ranjit.
Yeah, ma'am.
Hello, very useful, very interesting. I think it is very useful as also for our, we are having adolescent children, so it's very useful, very practical session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And one thing regarding the sleep and the competitive exams. So what Dr. Newton has told is an ideal situation, and what sort of competitive exam we are now having, it is not an ideal thing, or it is not a healthy one. So the stress should be to find out an ideal selection process for these seats and all, rather than changing what should happen ideally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohandas sir. If anyone want to make any suggestions or comments? Okay. If there are no more comments, we are going to the end of this session. And I would like to thank on behalf of IAP Kerala, IHA Kerala, and IAP Kozhikode, for our dear Newton sir for the excellent talk he had given always, and for the release of this wonderful module also. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And I would like to thank Dr. T.P. Jayaraman sir for inaugurating the Adolescent Health Week. Thank you, sir. And Dr. Ashok Kumar sir for his valuable messages on child rights and inaugurating the Child Rights Week. Thank you, sir. And our President-elect Vijay Kumar sir, immediate past President Narayanan sir, and our Secretary Johnny Sebastian sir, and NNF State President Devi sir, Parvati ma'am, and Balendra sir for the valuable feedbacks and comments for this program. And also I would like to thank the organizers of this CME, Dr. Mohandas sir, Dr. Ajay, for arranging it in short notice. Thank you, Dr. Ajay and Mohandas sir. And also our team of AHA, the Dr. Shibu, Dr. Deepa, Dr. Sajana, Dr. Nisha, and all. We are releasing the 6th module this year with the support of our respected seniors like Newton sir, Shaji sir, Venkateshwaran sir, Jayaraman sir, and Dr. Deepa, Dr. Sajana, and all. So we are releasing the 6th module as per the action plan. And thank you for all the support, and thank you all the delegates and my dear friends, senior members who joined the session. Thank you all. Happy Children's Day. Have a good day. JAP.
Ranjit, thank you. Thank you all.
Sir. Thank you, sir.